While the Indian Air Force is splurging $20 billion on purchasing 114 French Rafale fighter jets, it is leaving the so-called indigenous pride Tejas fighter jet on the sidelines, has the Made in India initiative, honed over 30 years, ultimately failed to convince even its own military. Why? At a critical juncture, when the MiG-21 has been fully retired and the number of fighter squadrons has plummeted to 29, did India choose to fill the capability gap with expensive foreign purchases rather than support its domestic defense industry? Is this due to the inevitability of technological gaps, or a strategic blow in system-level warfare? On August the 13th, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited announced that the Mk2 variant of the Tejas fighter jet had completed all design work and officially entered the prototype manufacturing phase. This variant, after years of optimized designs and aerodynamic layout improvements, ultimately adopted a longer fuselage and wider wingspan compared to the Mk1, and was equipped with a GEF 414 engine with a thrust of 98 kilonewtons. However, on the same day, Indian media reported that India is accelerating plans to reorder 114 Rafale fighter jets to fully replace the Indian Air Force's MiG-21 fighters. This order is valued at a staggering $20 billion, aimed at countering Pakistan's upcoming purchase of 40 J-35A stealth fighter jets. The Indian Air Force is currently facing severe downsizing. According to India Defence News, starting in October 2025, the number of fighter squadrons in the Indian Air Force will be reduced to just 29. This number is far below the 42 squadrons that the Indian military deems necessary, the minimum target set by India to maintain military strength along both the India-China and India-Pakistan borders. In September this year, the Indian Air Force will retire its last two MiG-21 fighter squadrons, bringing an end to over 60 years of service. As these outdated models are phased out, the Indian Air Force's size has reached its lowest point in history. The Indian Air Force's procurement of Rafale fighters is being handled in a straightforward manner. They have requested the government to bypass the global bidding process and proceed with direct procurement to obtain the required fighters more swiftly and cost-effectively. This is not the first time India has purchased Rafale fighters. The Indian Navy already purchased 26 Rafale M carrier-based fighters in April 2025 for $7.4 billion as a replacement for the MiG-29K carrier-based fighters. The Indian Air Force has already deployed 36 Rafale fighters. With the new order of 114 aircraft, India will have a total of 176 Rafale fighters, forming a significant air force. India's preference for the Rafale fighter jet is not without reason. The Rafale can launch the Scalp-E long-range cruise missile with a range of 500 kilometers and can also carry the Hammer OSM modular air-to-ground precision-guided bombs. During negotiations with France's Dassault Aviation, India also demanded access to the Rafale's source code to enable it to launch India's domestically produced Astra beyond visual range missiles, Rudram anti-radiation missiles, and smart anti-airfield weapons. The Indian military places particular emphasis on the fact that during the May 7 India-Pakistan air battle, Indian fighter jets exposed a critical flaw. Their air-to-air missiles had insufficient range, rendering them incapable of beyond visual range combat. The Rafale fighter jet's missile system and accompanying Spectre electronic warfare system are perfectly suited to address this shortcoming. In contrast, the indigenous Tejas fighter jet program has faced significant challenges. The project, initiated in 1983, was originally intended to replace the MiG-21 by the mid-1990s, but it did not complete its first flight until 2001. A full 18 years after its inception. More embarrassingly, the Tejas did not enter mass production immediately after its maiden flight but underwent repeated test flights and modifications over the next decade. It was not until 2013 that the Tejas finally achieved initial operational capability certification, with full operational capability certification not granted until 2019. A development cycle spanning 36 years has made the Tejas fighter jet a unique case in the history of global military aircraft development. The delays were primarily due to technical bottlenecks, with the domestically produced K-Vari engine failing due to insufficient thrust and poor reliability, ultimately necessitating a switch to the American GEF 404 engine. The recently unveiled Tejas Mk2 fighter jet features several design upgrades. Compared to the Mk1, the Mk2 boasts a longer fuselage, wider wingspan, and is equipped with the GEF 414 engine, which delivers a thrust of 98 kilonewtons. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited stated that the airframe components and structure of the Tejas Mk2 are currently being manufactured under tight schedules, with the airframe structure expected to be completed by the first quarter of 2026, followed by the final assembly phase in the middle of the year. If progress is not significantly disrupted, the prototype's first flight is expected to take place by the end of 2026 or early 2027. Following the maiden flight, extensive ground and flight tests will be conducted, which typically require 3 to 4 years to transition from the prototype to the production model. Therefore, if everything proceeds smoothly, the Indian Air Force could receive the first batch of Mk-2 fighters around 2030. However, given the complexity of fighter development and HAI's history of delays, this timeline appears less than reliable. Even if the Tejas Mk-2 enters service on schedule, its technical performance still lags significantly behind the mainstay fighters of neighboring countries. China's J-10C fighter jet has been in mass service since 2018, equipped with more powerful WS-10B, 10C engines and mature active, phased array radar. The J-10C can launch the PL-15 super long-range air-to-air missile with a range exceeding 200 kilometers and the highly maneuverable PL-10 close-range dogfight missile. Additionally, the J-10C has been integrated into the Chinese Air Force's integrated combat network, including the coordinated combat capabilities of early warning aircraft, electronic warfare aircraft, and unmanned aerial vehicles. In contrast, the Tejas Mk-2 lags significantly behind in terms of engine thrust, weapon range, avionics integration, and lacks the support of integrated combat capabilities. India aims to use the Mk-2 to fill the gap left by the retirement of the Mirage 2000 and MiG-21, and to compete with Pakistan's JF-17 and China's J-10C, but achieving this goal will be highly challenging. The Indian Air Force's true weakness lies not only in the performance of its fighter jets, but also in the absence of an integrated combat system. The May 7 India-Pakistan air battle fully exposed this issue. The Pakistani Air Force's ability to gain an advantage in the conflict stems from the comprehensive combat system supporting it. This integrated support model enables the Pakistani Air Force to perform exceptionally well in combat, a capability that India cannot replicate solely through financial investment. Pakistan has established an integrated air-ground air defense combat system using J-10C fighter jets, Honki air defense systems, and early warning aircraft. Within this system, both the J-10C and PL-15 air-to-air missiles can receive information from early warning aircraft located far behind the front lines, enabling precise strikes. In contrast, India has merely imported advanced fighter jets without establishing a systematic combat system, and such efforts may prove to be inefficient. The Indian Air Force may eventually receive 176 Rafale fighter jets, forming 7 squadrons. The domestically produced Tejas Mk-2 fighter jet, even if everything goes smoothly, will not begin deliveries until around 2030. By then, China's J-10C fighter jets will have been in service for over 12 years, and 6th-generation fighter jets may already be soaring through the skies. The Indian Air Force faces shortcomings in systematic development, which cannot be resolved solely by importing advanced fighter jets. A country without an independent defense industrial system will forever have to rely on others' designs in the global arms market.